Hello, I am going live. Welcome to TeaFairy StoryTime. For some reason on Facebook Live, it makes everything go backwards, and on YouTube it doesn't. So when I hold up a book, it shows it backwards, and I don't know why. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but maybe one day I will. Today's story, which will be here on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm doing both. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. I've got two cameras going at the same time. And you'll notice that my set is very different because I've had a very busy morning. So I've got a piece of art behind me on the wall here that was done by my niece. And it's a picture of my sister and I. And I have a piece of art on my wall that was done by my son. But they're kind of hard to see. For some reason, my lighting isn't working right. There we go. Hi, guys. Not as dark. Beautiful fan. I've got some plants in the background. And, of course, my window. So I've got opposing light going on, which will or won't work. I don't know. But today's story is, do you know Carlisle Moose loves to bugle? And it's by Whitni Kostboth. I think that's pronounced right. It's either Kostboth or Kostboth. Whitni, you'll have to correct me on this. Whitni is spelled Whitni. It's a different spelling than normal. And Kostboth is Kostboth. So it could be Kostboth. I'm not sure. But this book is titled, Do You Know Carlisle Moose Loves to Bugle? And it can be found on Amazon, on Kindle, on Barnes & Noble. And if you look in the comments section for this event, there's all these wonderful links to the authors. I believe it's Amazon page, and where you can get this lovely book. This is a fun one. I'm super excited to share it with you. Thank you, Whitni, for sending it in. I love when authors send in their books. I've had a lot of fun. Lately, I've had a lot of books being sent in by authors. So the more authors that can send me books, the better. I actually did an interview the other day on YouTube, which I don't know. I guess I'll be sharing a link from it as soon as I get it. But it was pretty fun. The lady's name is Faye Michelle, and she runs a page. Let me see if I can remember the name of it. Ooh, hold on just a moment. Anyway, she interviewed me about what I do as a fairy, as a literary fairy, and I got to tell her a little bit about that. So that was exciting and different, something I haven't done before. Oh gosh, I'm still having a hard time remembering the name of her YouTube page. Bear with me just a moment. Let's see. She was wonderful. It was so fun. Past events. Comfort Legacies interviews typically they interview new authors. So Whitni should probably contact her so that she can talk about the process of what it's like to become an author and how it is to get the word out about your book and the different ways of doing that. Faye Michelle was super fun to be interviewed by, and I'll be sharing that interview on my Facebook page, on my Facebook group. If I can figure out a way of sharing it on YouTube, I will. And the other fun thing that I've recently started, just so you guys know, is I started a podcast, and it's called TeaFairy StoryTime Podcast. TeaFairy is one word, Storytime is one word, podcast is one word. And I've been reading Beatrix Potter stories for the past week and a half. something like that. I'm almost through all 20 something stories. I think it's 22. The next book I'm going to read on there is by an author from Romania, and it is called Sophie the Robot with a Soul. And the author's name, gosh, can you see it? The author's name, I'm losing myself here, is Irina Dumitru. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I really need to talk with the authors, like, and actually audibly talk with them maybe, and make sure that I'm pronouncing their names right, because some of these names are difficult, and I'm not always really good at pronouncing names, especially when they're not usual names. So Irina Dumitru and her son actually illustrated illustrations in this book. He, I think, is 10 years old, if I'm correct. And so here's one of the illustrations. So I will be sharing at least a chapter of this on the 27th here on Facebook Storytime. But then I will also be starting it on the podcast, and I will be reading the entire book via the podcast. So you have to tune in to TeaFairy StoryTime podcast. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. And there's a variety of other podcasts as well. I have posted it in the Facebook group and the Facebook page. I will continue to post those, and I need to memorize them, which is the hard part. It's almost 3:30, and I'm kind of giving a little bit of time for people to come in to the room. I'm not sure how many people are actually coming today. So far, it looks like I've got 4 people watching. That's amazing. Hi, everyone. So, without further ado, I should probably start reading the book. I'm really glad you guys are here. I really appreciate the support. I enjoy doing this so much. All right. Whitni Kostboth, do you know Carlisle Moose loves to bugle? And I did not spend time, like I should have, making sure that these pages are not going to be difficult for me. I typically do this ahead of time, so I'm going to have to try to do it as we go. Carlisle Moose was a young and happy moose. Can you see the illustrations? There we go. He loved to play and eat and all other things young moose boys love. But unlike most moose, Carlisle had a special talent. Carlisle loved to bugle. Try to make sure both cameras get it. And you see the cute illustrations. Isn't Carlisle adorable? Do you guys know what a bugle is? It's kind of like a trumpet. Do you know what a trumpet is? It's a musical instrument, and you blow through this end of it, and you go. Can you do that? You fill your cheeks up with lots of air, and you go. Kind of silly, and it comes out the other end, and it makes a loud kind of noise. Carlisle's mom always taught him that bugling could be a lot of fun, but not to bugle at night. Why do you think that is? You don't want to wake the neighbors, Momma Moose would say. You know, Papa Moose needs his sleep. He works hard all day. That makes a lot of sense. I would want my baby mooses, if I had them, to bugle during the day. One day, Carlisle was playing with his friends. They dared him to bugle at night and see if he could wake up his neighbors. I don't know, Carlisle said. Mama says I should try not to wake others up. I agree with Carlisle. Why do you think his friends are trying to get him in trouble? That's not very nice. That's not what friends are for. And look who his friends are. There's a fox and a deer and a skunk and a squirrel. And when I was very little, I could not say skunk, so I would say snunk. Silly. But his friends said it would be fun, and they stayed up all night waiting to hear his bugle. Come on, Carlisle, do it. Oh, I'm so excited. I'll wait up all night. think his friends are being very helpful. I think they're going to get Carlisle in trouble. What do you think? Hopefully Carlisle doesn't listen to them. Carlisle thought to himself, I guess it won't really hurt anyone after all. I'm an expert bugler. Others would be lucky to hear me. So here we have the squirrel and the skunk playing baseball. And here we have Carlisle thinking. And he has the fox family outside watching him, and the squirrel family outside watching him, and the skunk family outside watching him, and the deer family outside watching him, and his mama and papa outside watching him play the bugle. Oops, there we go. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. That's pretty late at night, guys. Carlisle watched as each hour passed. He wanted to stay up until midnight and ring in the new day with his extra special sound. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Look, he's got Mighty Moose snacks on his drawer, on his cupboard, next to his bugle. And he's got a ball and a mitt and a picture of his mama and papa. And he's in his bed, thinking about time, trying to stay awake. Finally, it was almost midnight. Carlisle cleared his throat. Can you clear your throats? I can't hear you. And drank some water. He stood up and he shook himself out. This was going to be the best bugle of all the bugles in all the world. What do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be a good bugle? I think he's probably a really good bugler. But do you think it's the best time to bugle? I don't know. What do you think that poster is? Do you know what that poster is of? That's a musical note. That's what you read when you learn to play music. It's kind of like learning to read letters, but you learn to read notes. Whoa, 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 whoa. He bugled long and loud, hoping the whole world would hear. Wah, 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 wah. Can you make that noise? Wah, 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 wah. Is that a silly noise? Yes. It doesn't really sound like a bugle, I promise. I can't do it. It would be more like... I don't know. That's kind of silly, too. Anyways. Papa Moose jumped out of his bed, hitting his head on the lamp. Do you see him hitting his head on the lamp? Oh, no. Momma Moose was startled, too, and fell out of bed and bumped her knee on her dresser. Ouch! They both cried out. Look, there's Mama falling out of bed. Have you ever fallen out of bed? It hurts. Poor Mama. Have you ever hit your head? It hurts. Poor Papa. Soon, neighbors' lights turned on, and angry yells could be heard up and down the entire block. What was that? Quiet! I'm trying to sleep. Oops. I think Carlisle should have listened to his mommy instead of his friends. I did it, thought Carlisle proudly, and he smiled wide. Until he saw his Mama and Papa Moose. Do they look terribly happy with Carlisle right now? I don't think they do. Would you be? Carlisle, is something wrong? Why did you bugle in the middle of the night? Carlisle hung his head. I thought it'd be fun for the whole world to hear me, he mumbled. Did you hear what he said? He thought it would be fun for the whole world to hear him. He suddenly felt bad for having woken the neighborhood and for causing his parents to get hurt. I would too. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you feel bad if everybody was mad at you? It's no fun. Do you know now why I asked you not to bugle at night, Carlisle? Said his mamma. Yes, Mamma, so that I don't wake everyone and so that others don't get hurt. Carlisle said as he looked at his hoofs, too ashamed to look her in the eyes. Poor Carlisle, look how sad he looks. You see his sad face? Have you ever felt sad for doing something that you shouldn't have done? That you knew you shouldn't have done? I have. Momma Moose lifted Carlisle's face and looked him sternly in the eyes, and then she smiled and said, I'm glad you know now that it was wrong and don't want to do it again. Will you? No, Mamma. Good. Also, it's good that he learned his lesson. Also, do you know that I love you? Do you know that I care? Do you know that I'll always, always be there? Do you know that I'll miss you if you ever go? That's what I want you to know. That's called unconditional love. Even though he made a mistake and he did something wrong, his mama loves him. She loves him more than anything else, and she just wants him to be making wise decisions and to be safe. Carlisle hugged Mamma and then crawled into bed. I love you too, Mamma, he smiled and said. What time is it now? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. That's so late. It's morning. That's how late it is. It's no longer night. It's morning. About the author, Whitni Kostboth, was raised in Nebraska City, Nebraska, and is still a Nebraska girl at heart, though she now happily resides in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I used to spend my summers in South Dakota when I was a little girl, with her husband, Cory, and a baby on the way. Ooh, exciting. Writing has been a love of hers since she was young, and she has some special teachers along with her, encouraging parents to thank for helping this love to flourish. Her interest includes writing, obviously, reading, like I like to do, most outdoor activities, and just spending time with family. Her sense of adventure, the joy of helping others, and her love for the Lord have taken her to many journeys, including a mission trip to Guatemala. Ooh, that sounds fun. A trip to Israel. Sorry, not Ireland, Israel. And many stateside adventures, all of which she could do again and again if she could. Carlisle is special to Whitni and Cory, since they have a large canvas moose picture hanging in their home that they purchased on their honeymoon. Upon looking at the canvas after purchase, Whitni stated, he looks like a Carlisle, and so Carlisle was born. Not long after, she decided to write a book using a rhyme she had created for her toddler niece about 11 years ago. Inspiration struck. The two ideas melded, and here we are with a moose whose mom just happens to use the very same rhyme Whitni had written for her niece. She hopes you enjoy the book and looks forward to writing more Carlisle adventures if the opportunity should arise. Now I want to remember what that rhyme was because it's very important. Do you know that I love you? Do you know that I care? Do you know that I'll always, always be there? Do you know that I'll miss you if ever you go? That's what I want you to know. Very important message. I really love this book. Thank you for showing it to us or for sharing it with us so that I could share it with everybody else. And you can be able to find recordings of this again and again on YouTube. But you really should go and buy a copy of this on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle. They're not very expensive. It's only $9.95 on Amazon, which is pretty cheap. Kindle, I think it was like $4 and some change. Not bad. You can also find it on Barnes and Noble. And the publisher of this book is Christian Faith Publishing. And let's see if I can find a website for them, because I bet you could get it off their website, which is www.christianfaithpublishing.com. That's pretty easy to remember. That's it. What a fun book. Thank you, Whitney, for sending this in and for sharing it with us. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. I hope that you'll seek out this new podcast and read some more Beatrix Potter with me before we move on to Sophie, the robot with a soul. Isn't she cute? Can you see her? Isn't she adorable? The reflection is kind of bad. There we go. Doop-de-doo, Sophie. And I love Beatrix Potter books. They're super fun, and they're really old. They're like 115 years old or something. Long time ago. But the stories have always stuck to be very fun to listen to, and so I've been sharing those and will continue to share them. And find the Facebook page, find the Facebook group, find the YouTube channel, and if you have a book that you want to have read and shared, contact me. You can email me at TeaFairyStoryTime@gmail.com. TEA fairy, like the kind you drink. TeaFairy StoryTime @gmail.com. All right, guys. Bye.